I think like most of the young men in my generation, I think we grew up with Saturday morning giant monster movies and various Godzilla films and that very much inspires the imagination. And then of course when you get to 10, 11, 12, 13 and you have filmmakers like Steven Spielberg and George Lucas just creating entire worlds that you can get lost in and inspire entire subcultures. I think you get to the point where it's like, I want to do something. I want to actually be a part of that. And so at some point I always knew, I want to make a giant monster movie. And I know it's not something that most people commonly touch on. But I've always felt like your only limitation is yourself. So at some point I just decided, if even if it's with a handy cam on a Saturday with somebody dressed in a suit, crushing some small plywood city or whatever, that's what it's going to be. So that was kind of how it started.
I've always enjoyed science fiction. I've always enjoyed action suspense films. I'm a Spielberg child. I was raised on Lucas and Spielberg, but I also appreciate some of the more esoteric elements, some of the more way out elements in film. So I've always enjoyed the genre, and hopefully our little addition to it will end up in the pantheon of some list somewhere.
When I first heard about the project, I thought that it was a little aggressive and a little crazy, but the more I thought about it, the more excited I got about being involved in the project.
Which kind of took us back to the Spanish and the conquest of the Americas and to the conquistadors and the history of that. So from there we got I did a little research and I found this guy that just his story just lent itself to just great fiction. And I think if you read the backstory or you read the comic that Mike's created, you'll get a little bit of the backstory on him, and it just fit.
Report.
Sir, the satellite has detected a Category 5 element, sir. It is not listed as a known source in the database.
I like Kyle. One thing, he was always willing to do whatever anybody needed him to do. He may not do it the best. He may not do it right, but he'd do it, and he would really just give his best at everything, and he was kind of unapologetic about screwing up, like he tried, and he put it out there and stuff. So that was kind of cool. I kind of respected that.
I identified a lot with her. She is what I always kind of wanted to be. I was really shy in high school and around that age group, and she was just so unbelievably enthusiastic about everything, and she was completely selfless, and she was a lot of fun. She was a lot of fun to give her that energy and that love just bubbling up constantly. I mean, love for her friends and for her family, and just willingness to do all that she can to help. And she's the kind of person that I would love to have as a best friend.
Well, if you all will excuse me, I have a class to teach.
Thank you.
So how exactly can I help you?
Kyle, before we begin, I'd like to tell you this is a matter of national security. It's critical that you and OTSI not share any of the information discussed here with anyone for any reason. Can I trust you?
Would you prefer that I leave?
If Kyle trusts you and you agree to keep this information to yourself, you're welcome to stay.
I do.
Excellent. Thank you. About a week ago, we launched and initiated a new satellite, the STOME-1.
Oh, yeah, I'm actually really familiar with the with the system. I actually helped design the subterranean thermal and sonic scanners and the readout interpretation equipment that the satellite uses to, well, to find if there's any material that can be used for weapons of mass destruction.
We'll have to put aside the fact that you're not supposed to know what the equipment was specifically designed to do. At any rate, we found something very interesting in southern Arizona. Here. It's about 2 miles from a town called Desert Cove.
Desert Cove? That's where I'm from. Well, at least that's where I lived for 10 years before I came here to college.
It's located, as best as we can determine, about 2 miles below the surface. We've tested and retested. And if the equipment and software you designed works the way it should, there's something in southern Arizona.
Colonel, I've hiked all throughout this area, and I'd like to think I would have seen a hideout or a base or something. I mean, what type of substance are we looking for here?
Plutonium.
Plutonium. Like a bomb.
Well, no, we don't think there's a bomb, Nancy. But we do suspect that there's a fairly large amount of plutonium there, and we would like Kyle to come along and investigate it with us.
So, does plutonium just happen? I mean, like gold or silver?
No. Plutonium typically doesn't just naturally occur. You know, it's made. It's very rare that, you know, nature would bother to make any. Colonel, do you have the sensor readouts? I'd like to take a look at those.
I thought you might like to look at those.
And you say it's 2 miles down?
And as the captain has stated, we'd like to know if you would. Well, I know Brent and I have talked about the day that I auditioned, and I walked in and he was at the desk and he's like, "Oh, what are you auditioning for?" And I said, "The Colonel," and he kind of looked at me like, "You crazy?" But I don't know, I thought it was really cool to be able to do that because it's not sure, I'm not what you would think of to be, you know, some sort of superior officer in some sort of armed forces. In the real world, that would be insane, like really insane for me to be in charge of any type of weapons. But it was fun to be able to play that, to be kind of this small woman, but who had a lot of strength and a lot of intelligence, and yeah, it was really cool. I kind of like that. I like to be able to play those characters that people don't think that I could do.
I felt like she had this kind of underlying story, you know, her parents dying, and she was a strong, educated girl. So that was probably what I liked the most about it. And I could understand that if that happened to me, I would probably not stop until I knew what had happened. So I think for me, it was probably, you know, centered a lot around her because I was really paying attention to that. And I thought all of, you know, the other characters too just supported that.
Genetic and cultural traits, you know, from southern Arizona that span from North and South America. I mean, you'd show the early Americans not only knew about each other, but they had relations and interactions. And that's crazy awesome stuff. I wouldn't even have to work. You know, I mean, you'd make us rich off of speaking fees alone. So I'd have me a little sugar mama.
Whatever, freeloader. I just really wish that I know how this was going to play out.